It's not exactly a place you'd think would be teeming with snakes just below the surface, and that's true, as long as you don't hang out in Narcisse, Manitoba. Every spring and autumn, the largest congregation of snakes anywhere in the world is found in this area, drawing visitors from across the globe.
I'm gonna react to some real animal phenomena. I have not seen this video yet, so this is a first for me. So I'm going to, it's not, I don't know how I'm gonna react, but it's good to have you watching with me. You two guys that return all the time, I appreciate it. 3 of us are here like the 300. Shout outs to you two guys. Alright, without further ado.
Never ceases to amaze. These Animal Kingdom oddities may seem like urban legends, but they all actually happened, and had real-life scientists scratching their heads. Here are 15 strange animal phenomena that happened on Earth. While you're here, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more such amazing content. Number 15. Narcisse snake dens. Canada usually seems like such a non-scary place. The pristine lakes, the gentle manners, the political tolerance, the free-flowing sorries. It's not exactly a place you'd think would be teeming with snakes just below the surface, and that's true.
Yeah, it is not a place I thought would be teeming with snakes. I know there are snakes that live in cold areas, but not like teeming with snakes. Unless they're all like cuddling together to stay warm.
As long as you don't hang out in Narcisse, Manitoba. Every spring and autumn,
and that place is cold. Very cold, okay. You learn something new every day.
The largest congregation of snakes anywhere in the world is found in this area, drawing visitors.
In the world, anyway.
From across the globe. For between 1 and 3 weeks at a particular spot along Highway 17, tens of thousands of red-sided garter snakes make their way above ground from inside the fissures in the limestone, looking for mates. They congregate in rocky pits, weaving together to form vast, living, moving tapestries of snakes that can be as wide as 20 feet across. A mass of snakes is clearly audible between the hissing and the sound of scales rubbing together. When they're finished with their business in the spring, the garters split from their dens along the highway to nearby wetlands for the summer to bask in the sunshine, and then return to Narcisse in the fall to slither back underground and do it all over again. Number 14. Headless chicken.
Okay, so I guess they meet just to mate, and then they go get a suntan and go back underground to sleep or rest. Okay, interesting.
1945, farmer Lloyd Olson took one of his many chickens to the chopping block to prepare dinner for his
That's a big chicken.
family. After decapitating the chicken, something strange happened. The chicken didn't die. The headless chicken, which the family later named Mike, continued to wander around the farm and steadfastly refused to be turned into the...
But doesn't this normally happen when people cut the head off a chicken? It runs around for a while. I guess we'll find out how long it walked around and ran around.
Olson's supper. The Olsons discovered that they could still feed and water Mike by way of an eyedropper inserted into his neck hole. After that, they took the chicken out on the road, showing him off as Mike the Headless Chicken.
Okay, that is strange. That's very, very strange.
What magic kept Mike alive? Sheer luck, as it happens. Scientists at the University of Utah who examined Mike found that Olson barely missed Mike's brainstem, which allowed him to continue walking and moving even after his decapitation.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. Kind of. Or mostly makes sense.
Unfortunately, Mike died when his family lost his eyedropper and were unable to help him when he began to choke on a kernel of corn. Number 13. Raining birds. In a small town in Arkansas, USA, the locals were just carrying about their day, doing very mundane things until suddenly, in 2012, the whole town witnessed something rather unusual. It started to rain ravens. Dead ravens, obviously, but it was raining birds. It rained over 5,000 dead blackbirds in the early hours of New Year's Day in 2012. What's the craziest thing about this? This wasn't the first time it happened. It was the second time that it happened. We don't know if it happened a third time since then, but if it did, I wonder what the locals would think then.
Makes you wonder what's going on in the air up there. Is there some type of experiment going on in Arkansas or above that town? Or maybe something they're putting in the air that they don't know about.
Number 12. Cocooned trees. In 2010, 10 years worth of rainfall poured into Pakistani cities and villages in less than a week, completely ravaging the affected areas. An unexpected side effect of the flooding in parts of Pakistan had seen that millions of spiders climbed up into the trees to escape the rising floodwaters. Because of the scale of the flooding and the fact that the water had taken so long to recede, many trees have become cocooned in spiders' webs. Spiders have built massive webs on trees, turning them into ghostly cocoons.
Aren't there some places where the trees are covered in those worms? The worms kind of put like webs on the trees. I don't know if it's worms or spiders. I thought it was worms, but I've seen that in other locations.
Phenomenon has never been seen before. Number 11. Germany's bursting toads. Hamburg is often known as...
Okay, this sounds like it's going to be disgusting, but we'll thug it out.
...an idyllic port city of book publishers and media giants. Lately, however, the city's peace and quiet has been interrupted by a sickening natural oddity. Over 1,000 of the city's greenish-brown toads have swelled up to almost 4 times their normal size, and then, bang, exploded, sending horrific entrails and body parts several feet into the pristine air. Stunned residents have nicknamed their city's once bucolic lake the Pond of Death, and officials have cordoned off the area for investigation. Vets and animal welfare agencies have spent days puzzling over the deeply troubling and downright disgusting mystery. Is it a fungus? Is it a virus? Are the toads simply suicidal? All the speculation was finally put to rest when Frank Munchman, one of Germany's top experts on amphibians, cracked the case, and the explanation was even more shocking than the toads' violent deaths. The massacre was apparently the work of a highly intelligent species of crow. Frank examined both living and dead specimens of the Hamburg toads, and what he found was truly chilling. Identical circular incisions on their backs, just the size of a bird's beak. He also figured out that all the amphibians had their livers missing. There were no bite or scratch marks, so we knew the toads weren't being attacked by a raccoon or a rat, which would have also eaten the entire toad, Frank said. It was clearly the work of crows, which are clever enough to know the toad's skin is toxic and realize the liver is the only part worth eating. Only once the liver is gone does the toad realize it's being attacked. It puffs itself up as a natural defense mechanism, but since it doesn't have a diaphragm or ribs, without the liver there's nothing to hold the rest of its organs in. The lungs stretch out of all proportion and rip. The rest of the organs simply expel themselves. Number 10.
That's crazy. That's really crazy. Like, how long did it take for him to even like that's wild. So because the toads were eating the liver, not the toads, the birds, the ravens were eating the livers, and the way they ate the livers, so the toads were defending themselves and at the same time end up killing themselves. That's wild. There's a lot of I'm sure there's a lot of comedy material in there. It's sad, but it's wild nonetheless.
Murmurations. Individually, a European starling is little more than a common blackbird. They're practically everywhere. More than 200 million are in North America alone, singing their chirpy little songs and becoming to many backyard growers and full-time farmers a bit on the pesty side. Collectively, though, starlings transform into something else entirely. Together, in flight, in mesmerizing flocks that sometimes number in the hundreds of thousands, they are a breath-stealing wonder, a pulsating, swooping, living, harmonized whole, seemingly defying the laws of nature while defining nature itself. In the 1930s, famed ornithologist Edmund Selous suggested that birds moving in murmurations were using some sort of telepathy to transmit their flying intentions. They must think collectively all at the same time, a flash out of so many brains, he wrote in his book, Thought Transference or What in Birds. As the years wore on, we found out that's not quite it. In the 1950s, scientists studying insects and fish and other collective animal behavior posited that group movement is more of a stunningly fast response to others in the flock rather than some innate mind-reading ability or a command from the group leader.
Yeah, I would think that. I mean, a lot of things are just herd animals. They just follow who's in front of them or the group that's in front of them. So they just happen to move in a certain way, and it ends up looking artistic. That's just the outcome of how they're moving. I don't think it's anything intentional. I don't think intentional. I guess if they're moving somewhere specifically for food or for, I guess, mating, like that snake segment a while back.
Number 9. Red crab migration. Once a year, something incredible happens on Christmas Island. Around 50 million red crabs are estimated to live on Christmas Island, located in the Indian Ocean off the northwestern coast of Australia, which it is a part of. Between October and December, at the beginning of the wet season, these animals start an incredible journey across the land, leaving their homes in the inland to go to the seaside and lay their eggs. The migration begins when adult crabs leave their burrows in the dense jungle and walk to the beach, dipping in the ocean to replenish body salts. Male crabs dig burrows in the sand which they defend from other crabs while they try to mate with the females, then migrate back home while the females stay with their eggs. After 2 to 3 weeks, the female crabs put their eggs into the ocean and start their own return journey, while the eggs hatch into the water as larvae. The tiny creatures turn beaches red before slowly progressing across the island, crossing roads and meandering around houses until they link up with the adults. 4 years later, the crabs are ready to make their own migration to the beach to mate and begin the life cycle all over again. All phases of the migration are popular tourist attractions, with visitors timing their travel to coincide with it to see the unique sight, as the crabs only live on Christmas Island.
I'm surprised. Well, I don't know if anybody lives on the island, if it's inhabited by people. I was just surprised that nobody attempted to eat them, like as far as any locals, but I didn't notice him saying any locals lived on the island. Not saying they look edible to me, but there are people out there that would eat them. I'm going to leave it at that.
Number 8. Beached fish or not? Speaking of raining weird creatures, on New Year's Eve in Norway, people are singing, eating, drinking, making merry and all that, and the fish from the sea decided that they didn't want to be left out of these celebrations anymore, and basically beached themselves on a long stretch of coast in northern Norway. An estimated 20 tons of fish just beached there. We say estimated because before officials could even make a proper count and begin clean-up operations, the fish just upped and vanished. No one has any idea what happened to cause such a massive amount of obviously dead fish to just completely disappear.
So I'm also wondering, while they are coming there to nest and beach, like nobody thought to take a net for any of the alive ones or the fresh that aren't. Nobody thought to take a net and just grab some. I don't know. Just curious. I don't know. Maybe they did.
Number 7. Whale suicides. The short-finned pilot whale is a large species of dolphin with a dark grey body and a bulbous head. It's an intensely social animal that spends its life in the company of others, and that, sadly, is also how it sometimes dies. In March 2018, around 150 short-finned pilot whales stranded themselves at Hamlin Bay, a site on Australia's western coast around 200 miles south of Perth. Trained staff and volunteers had hauled 6 survivors back into the sea, but their fate is still uncertain. Rescued whales often re-strand themselves, and nightfall will make their movements harder to track. Western Australia is no stranger to mass whale strandings. 9 years before, to the day, 80 long-finned pilot whales, a closely related species, stranded themselves in the very same spot. 3 years before, again almost to the day, around 20 long-finned pilot whales washed up at Bunbury, about 70 miles to the north. And those incidents pale in comparison to the largest mass stranding ever documented in the region. This isn't a uniquely Australian problem. New Zealand's Farewell Spit is a notorious whale trap where pilot whales regularly strand. Up to 650 long-finned pilot whales beached there last February, of which 400 or so were saved. Cape Cod is another hotspot and sees an average of 226 stranded whales and dolphins every year. Given this long history, it's unclear if these events have become any more frequent of late, or if they're simply easier to spot in an interconnected world. Still, there is something deeply unsettling about mass strandings. Cetaceans, the group that includes whales and dolphins, are highly intelligent and beautifully adapted to life in the water. Why would they leave the aquatic world to risk death? And why do so many of them do so at the same time? No one really knows. There's a multitude of hypotheses and few firm answers. Number 6.
Yeah, that would leave. That would be. That's weird. I don't know why or how that would happen. And I can imagine the smell though. Like after a while, if they did die, that would be very disturbing and nauseating. I don't know. I don't know what a dead whale smells like, but I mean, several dead anything in one location, it would seem to be nauseating to me.
Sea of Stars. As if the islands of the Maldives weren't already heaven on earth, come nighttime, Vardoo Island reveals another mystical surprise: glowing blue waves lapping the sandy shore like something out of a fantasy island. As the sun sets below the sea.
Yeah, I've seen something like this before. I think that they emit some type of light, in which causes the water to light up. There's some type of sea creature. They emit like a light under them, similar to there are some flying bugs in a cave where they nest on the ceiling, and they also emit a light, which is similar blue light. It's always blue for some reason.
Vardoo Island's waters are taken over by a shimmering sight. They light up, a glittery spread of blue reflecting the sky. This island in particular is known for its amazing Sea of Stars, where the waters glow neon blue at night. A tiny microorganism, a phytoplankton called Dinoflagellates, reacts with oxygen under the water and is triggered to produce this blue glow when it feels movement. Therefore, waters where these small phytoplankton live sparkle as if mirroring or capturing the stars.
Yeah, I thought that was the case, where they emit the light. I know the bugs in this cave system, they emit the light, so I think so they can find each other or something like that. But they light up the cave at night. I'm gonna stop right here because I've probably again taken up enough of your time. I appreciate your time, and please like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching.